with the next one. So we did this. Let's go to the next one. And here is a vocabulary builder. Today, the new word you're going to learn is called phase shift. It's a noun. We use it a lot in math, especially when we're talking about translations of sine and cosine function upon the x-axis. That is called horizontal translation. So let's move on to the next question. Let's see how we can apply what we learned right now with the phase shift on this question here. So circle the graph that shows a phase shift of the function y sine theta. So y equals sine theta is a parent function, right? Well, there you go. This is a parent function. That is not our phase shift, right? Because with our phase shift, we have to move to the right or to the left in a horizontal axis, right? When we go to this one here, even this one doesn't look like it's shifted to the right or the left. It's just going up a little higher, so it's not shifted. Look, the 0, pi, and 2 pi are still on the same points, right? So how about the second one? Oh, the 0 is here, and it moved down here. Okay, this is our phase shift, so that's why I circled this one. And these ones are not our phase shift. Good job. Let's move on. And this time we're gonna go and work with our I provided actually a bank of words that you should know by now, but even if you don't, I gave you some empty space so during the lesson you can fill out the information that you don't understand or you forgot, okay? So aptitude, we're going to use it, vertical shift, maximum values, minimum values, all of those are words that we have used them before. And I provided an additional vocabulary support that I want you to go ahead while I teach you this lesson to finish it up, or will be a homework for tomorrow since we might not have enough time. So let's start with dynamic activity. And the way how we're going to do that is task 1 will be done by me. So I do task 1 with your engagement, all right? And then task 2 we do together. Task 3 you must do it, okay? And for task 2 you will need this calculator, online calculator, GeoGebra.org. The classic part, all you got to do is click over there and you'll see the calculator. I will provide this PowerPoint for you, so it will be easy to work with it. So let's move on and let's look at our task 1 here. This is I do, all right? So if you notice, the transform function of sine and cosine is given with this formula. Y equals A sine B x minus C quantity plus D, or Y equals A sine B x minus H plus K. Remember that when we worked with other functions, they used H and K for our vertical and phase shift, right? Horizontal shift and vertical shift. Well, right now, we're going to have C and D that actually it's exactly the same thing. So if you notice, I put them together with this graphic organizer where A is in blue and I wrote here the name is amplitude. B is in red for both the function and it's called B is actually helping us to determine the period. It is not the period. C is showing our phase shift, C and H. Phase shift, remember the word we talked, phase shift, translation to the right or the left, or translation upon horizontal axis. D and K, they are the vertical shift. That means translation up or down upon y-axis. And if you look at the part A over here, I gave you the transformed form of both the functions of sine and cosine, and I am asking you to explain to me what does A, B, C, and D represent. Based on the graphic organizer here, A represents what? Very good, amplitude. B represents what? Good. So it does not represent the period, right? It helped to determine the period. C, yes, it's our horizontal shift. And D, our vertical shift. Very good. So right now, instead of C and D, we're going to use H and K. But if we need to fill out this table, we need to make sure what are the parent functions of sine and cosine and what are the transform functions of sine and cosine. So if I want to write it down, I will have y equals sine x. That's my parent function. How about for cosine? For cosine, y equals cosine x. Very good. You guys are good. How about the transformed form? So since I use red for the sine, I'm going to use red again. So y equals a sine b x minus c plus d. Yes. And the same way for cosine, y equals a cosine b x minus c plus d. And we filled out half of the table. Now what can we write about absolute value of a? Absolute value of a is this one, right? The excuse me, the a in front of the function is the number in front of the sine or cosine. Yes, the altitude. How about 2 pi over b? So 2 pi over b is actually the period. The period for the trigonometric function that is sine and cosine. So it's the period. How about h and k? H is our phase shift, right? And we're going to use PS for phase shift. And K is our vertical shift. And we're going to use VS. All right. Now that we established this, we're going to go ahead and carry on with task number 2. And task number 2, we said, oh, here we are giving you the function of sine and all the properties of function of sine. So when we have a parent function of sine, a is 1, b is 1, c is 0. Why? Because it's not has no phase shift to the right or to the left. And d is 0 because it's not shifted up or down. The same thing we can talk about our next function, the parent function of cosine. Remember, the difference between the two functions is that if this one starts at 0 here, this one starts at 1 on the y-axis. Okay, so they are different from each other, no matter they look the same curve. And if we go ahead, we're going to look at A, B, C, D of the cosine function, and the same as the sine function. A is 1, the amplitude is 1, B is 1, C is 0 since there is no shift horizontally, and D is 0 since there is no shift vertically. Alright, it's time to go to task number 2. So this task, we have to do it together. So A, B, I want 2 of you to work with A and B. I want the other two over there to work with A and C. I want you two over there to work with A and D, and the other two over there to work with A and E. And then if we have time, we can do the other two, okay? So go ahead and keep working, and when you're ready, let me know. Okay, so let's see. When comparing your work with the transform functions with the parent function of sine, the parent function of sine is the green line, okay? The red line is y equals sine x plus 2, and the blue line is y equals sine x minus 4. And if you notice, if I compare the red line with the green, we have a vertical shift, so it moved up, right? So we have a vertical shift of 2 units. So therefore, the function will be a is 1, so number in front of sine. B is 1, no number after sine. C is 0, so in the parentheses we're going to have only x. And D is 2, then outside we're going to have plus 2. So the function y equals sine x plus 2 is our red function. The blue function is y equals sine x minus 4. That means A is 1, B is 1. Since it didn't move to the right or to the left, C is 0. And since it moved down 4 units, D is negative 4. All right, if you check with your work, you must have the same answer, correct? Good job. Over here, we have the sine function that is in green, the sine x. And then we have two more functions, one in red and then one in purple. And if you notice, the red one with the green one, it is shifted to the left. And then the purple one with the green one, it is shifted to the right. So what that means is that our function on the red is sine of x plus pi over 2. So since it has plus inside, when the formula requires a negative, then it means it moved to the negative side. So therefore, A altitude is 1, B is 1, C is negative pi over 2 because of this plus, should be a minus there, and D is 0. Why is D 0? Anybody can tell me why our vertical shift is 0? Awesome, because there is no shifting up or down. Good job. Now let's look at the purple graph with the Greek graph. Now we have sine x minus pi over 2. So here was plus pi over 2 and we moved to the left. But minus pi over 2, we are moving to the right. And A is still 1, B is 1, C is pi over 2, and D is 0. And again, no vertical shift, so D is 0. You guys are doing a great job. How about we move on to task 3 and have you guys do this on your own? I will be waiting, and when you're done, you let me know. So, one thing I need you to pay attention is to this wording here that says period, all right? So, this is very, very important. Period is pi over 4. Period is pi over 2. Remember, one period is 2 pi over b, okay? So it's 2 pi over b. In our case, our period is pi over 4, and this is 2 pi over b. So we are looking to find b. We are looking to find this b. And to find b, we can use cross multiply and divide, all right? So I can say b equals 2 pi times 4 over pi. And pi cancels, and it leaves us with b to be 8. Good job. You guys are so awesome. The same way, go ahead and do your next problem, and then you tell me what is A, B, and C. And here we go. This is the function on the part A. We are looking for A. Since I said it has an altitude 2, then A is 2, a period of pi over 4, and we showed out the work that B must be 8, and then 3 units to the left, and then we are moving it 3 units to the left. So C must be -3. D is 0 because we are not going up and down. So the proper function is y equals 2 sine 8 x plus 3. For part B, we write in the function again. The period is pi over 2, so we have to identify what is B by using pi over 2 pi over B equals pi over 2, and then we find B to be 4. And since we have no horizontal shift, C must be 0. And since we have shifted up 1 unit, then D must be 1. So the function will be 3 sine 4x plus 1. Awesome job, you guys. Now, I want you to take this exit ticket and look into it. And since we don't have time, I want you to take this ticket at home. And 30 minutes from now, you're going to fill it out. And if you still have questions, write them down. There is space on this. And scan it and send it back to me, my email. My email is on the page there, so you will have it. But right now, I want to go back to our essential question. Sorry, guys. Our essential question was, what happens to the parent functions of sine and cosine when you translate them to the transformed function of y equals a sine b x minus c plus d, or y equals a cosine b x minus c plus d? Anybody? Great. You all are very ready to say that. Okay, let's start one at a time. Very good. All right, you guys are awesome. So we're gonna close it here, but before we go, on your board, I put your homework, the additional vocabulary activity, task 2 and 3. Now pay attention. From the dynamic activity, we worked only with sine function. So I want you to use the same functions, but with cosine this time. So that will be your homework. And then don't forget to email the exit ticket in next 30 minutes, okay? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to write them on your exit ticket. And thank you very much, and I hope you have enjoyed your learning. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.